All right, guys, little moment over on CNN that caught our eye. So you might recall, we actually covered this study that came out of Yale where they paid Fox News viewers to watch CNN and then to see if it actually changed their opinions. And it was very interesting because it revealed like people are not the hardened partisan automatons that you think they are, that if they consume different information, they're gonna have different ideas about the world. That's both good, it's also bad because it shows you how impactful cable news continues to be, especially for boomers since their overwhelming demographic is on the older side. So CNN decides to cover this, specifically Brian Stelter decides to cover this study with one of the researchers who is involved. But they try to frame it as just about how Fox News is feeding their viewers selective information, which of course they are, but the Yale researcher is having none of it. Let's take a look.
So Josh, you all call this partisan coverage filtering. And basically you're proving what we've sensed for a while, which is Fox viewers are in the dark about bad news for the GOP.
That's right. Fox and CNN cover different issues, and Fox News predominantly covers issues that make the GOP look good and make Democrats look bad. And on the flip side, CNN engages in this partisan coverage filtering as well that we find. For example, during this time, the Abraham Accords were signed, and these were the agreements where Israel, the UAE, and Bahrain signed a major peace agreement. And we see that Fox News covered this really major accomplishment about 15 times more than CNN did. So we established both networks are really engaging in this partisan coverage filtering. It's not about one side, it's about the media writ large.
I think you're engaging in some both sides-ism there, Josh.
Not trying to lay out a moral equivalency. It's not about what an objective standard is. It's really about how all networks do engage in this, and in order for viewers to get a realistic picture of the world, we need viewers to see all types of information. And unfortunately, what we find in this study is that the viewers don't want to engage in watching all sides. So as David mentioned, we see that viewers, we pay them for 4 weeks to watch CNN, but then after those payments stop, they go back to watching Fox News. So even though we try to incentivize viewers to watch both Fox and CNN, they don't want to engage in that hard work. They want to really just watch the side that makes them feel good. And this is why the media has such an important responsibility to cover both sides, to hold both parties accountable.
There's a lot.
So awkward.
Why does Stelter sit like this?
Yeah, that was very odd. And also, why was that other guy, why are their producers so bad that they keep that one guy up on the screen? Just like, go to him. And he's like, yeah, just like nodding vigorously.
But the point was well done.
Yeah,
I mean,
kudos to him for holding his ground, even in the most awkward way possible. He's like, well, look, like both sides engage in his behavior, and he's like, sounds like. Also, he's such an untalented interviewer. Sounds like you're engaging in some both sides.
Sounds like you're engaging in some both sides. It's like
aesthetic criticisms aside, substantive point being made there. You both engage in selective coverage. You both are engaged in the exact same game. That's why I get really annoyed too. Sometimes Fox picks up our segments slamming CNN.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, fine, but like, you know, we don't
when
really like you either.
Us trashing you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not, right? And it's not like CNN covers the other side, but more what we're saying is you cannot be a member of this like industrial complex and then just use selective outrage on the other side because you're just as guilty of doing the exact same thing. Our whole point is no, curse a pox on all of your houses.
Right.
You're all terrible. And of course they don't ever want to hear.
Right, and their incentives are never gonna change. So there's no reforming those systems.
No, they're dead.
The only thing you can do is try to supplant them and replace them ultimately. But yeah, you love to see when these anchors are actually faced with the truth and the reality of their own selective coverage, selective outrage. I think that the term partisan filtering is actually a really good one because that's exactly what it is. I mean, so much of it, of how they control information isn't just about like, you know, sometimes there are outright lies and outright, you know, spinning of stories or concocting of narratives that don't really exist. But a lot of it has to do with just which stories you choose to focus on. And I remember very clearly when I first started going on Fox News back a decade ago, they were obsessed with these stories. This is the Tea Party era. They were obsessed with these stories where they'd find like this government agency paid $15 for a muffin, and they do like a whole thing on that.
Yeah, the lobster dinners.
Yeah,
Remember
to
that?
try to paint the entire government as just like worthless and corrupt, and they're just flagrantly misusing your money without looking at I'm sure there's plenty of that's going on, but not, without looking at the bigger picture or telling you that when you cut the budget for these agencies, it doesn't cut back on the $15 muffins, it cuts back on vital services that are actually going to people. So just one example that always stood out to me of like the partisan filtering that Fox engages in, and of course CNN obviously engaging in the same, and Stelter doesn't really have any answer to it other than being like, this sounds like both sides.
He always says something along the lines of, you don't understand how CNN really works then. It's like, no, I think we do, dude. You're gonna want to do
I don't think you're watching the same network we are. No,
It's like, no,
we're watching. We got it, brother.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching us, and we'll have more for you later. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.